Hey guys, today we're driving the 2023 Nissan Z. I've spent all week in this car. Let's walk you around it. We'll take it for a drive. We'll talk about what it's been like to live with this week. So this is powered by a 3-liter twin-turbo V6. Makes 400 horsepower, 350 pound-feet of torque. That's made into a 6-speed manual transmission. We have a limited slip rear diff. This is the performance package, which means it costs about $52,000. We get an Excetti high-performance clutch, double wishbone front suspension, multi-link rear suspension. This is based on the 370Z, shares a lot of the structure and some interior bits, a little bit of carryover, but they've improved and kind of tweaked a lot of things throughout the chassis, of course the exterior appearance, but it is a marked improvement over the 370Z in pretty much every way. Still kind of retains that old school feel and heritage that Zs have had for the last couple generations. And of course we've got a whole new look. The front end is meant to look a little bit like the 240Z, and the rear kind of harks back to the 300ZX, which is kind of neat. Let's turn the lights on. These taillights look really cool. Kind of have this 3D effect. Look at that. The highlight for me on this car is the appearance. This looks absolutely stunning, especially in this gray. It really has a lot of road presence. It's a good looking car. Nice big 4-pot Nissan brakes, forged raised 19-inch wheels, Bridgestone Potenza S007 tires. I think this is a great looking sports car. Pretty familiar looking space back here. We still have that structural brace tying both sides of the car together. We have about 4 layers of carpet here separating you from a little bit of storage underneath. Oh, I guess there's the Bose subwoofer. Okay, cool, and you've got a fix-a-flat kit. Decent amount of space back here. Bit of a rise in the windows so you can fit slightly taller items, but definitely more width and length than height. Let's see, do we have a grab handle to close things with? Yeah, we can use the top of the spoiler. Cool looking exhaust tips. A lot of great styling elements on the outside of this new Z. I'm liking it. Look how big this fuel tank cap is. Premium fuel only. It says about a 16.5 gallon fuel tank. So you get pretty good range in this new car. The Zs have always had a pretty good fuel range. You'd expect about 350 miles to a tank in something like this, which in the modern sports car landscape is quite good. Let's pop the hood, take a look at this 3-liter twin-turbo V6. It's rated for 18 miles to the gallon in the city, 24 on the highway. And that's what it looks like. A little bit of plastic. These are 2 separate panels here. It's a tight fit, but they've managed to wedge it all in here. And this new engine is probably the highlight of this new car. It's only a little bit faster than the 370Z, but the way it delivers that power, I think, is more exciting. Cool looking door handle design too. We can see very similar seats and controls, switch gear to the 370Z, and even some carryover from the 350. New steering wheel, of course, lots of screens. I'm 5'10". I fit pretty well in here. Driving position does feel a tad bit high, and I'm lowered all the way down on the seat. These manual controls are a little bit funky, but you do get used to them. Ingress, I've hit my head on this a few times, but otherwise the ergonomics in here are pretty good. I can get a nice driving position, lots of adjustability with the steering wheel. It tilts, telescopes, and then you've got your seat controls down here for forward and backward, and your backrest, and you can kind of adjust the height down here with these knobs. We've got wireless CarPlay, Android Auto, physical controls for our climate, heated seats, button there to pop the trunk, sliding armrest, which gives us access to a cup holder, and this performance package has the red accented interior, which I think looks quite nice. Leather, red stitching, I think it works. Manual transmission has a little bit of a shorter throw to it. Down and back to the right puts you in reverse. Not the best looking reverse camera. Infotainment looks just like any other Nissan infotainment. Pretty simple. You can see weather, SiriusXM traffic, fuel prices. That's kind of cool. I mean, it's basically just a very simple system that is kind of CarPlay focused. Screen, reasonably responsive, works well. No major complaints there. Our gauge cluster, fully digital. We've got a lot of temperature gauges, engine oil, water, engine oil pressure, diff oil. And then over here, we've got boost pressure, turbo speed, up to about 25,000 RPM, and then a voltometer, which is probably pretty useful. Tire pressures, boost gauge, G-force meter, and upshift indicator options on the left. You can also choose a more traditional looking Nissan gauge cluster view here, but with this Z, the Sport cluster is the way to go. Yeah, this is all a bit strange looking in a car like this, so we're going to go into the Sport mode gauge cluster. I like that a lot. Nice. All right, let's take this for a drive. At low speeds, steering is light. Pretty good visibility. Shifter is still a little bit clunky in this Z, but it is an improvement over the 370. I believe the 370Z was the first, if not one of the first, vehicles with a manual transmission that implemented the rev match feature. Hear that 3-liter V6 sing. We've got a shift indicator at the top with lights telling us as we're approaching red line. Sounds good from the inside. Engine's still a little bit coarse and rough sounding, but it is smoother than the 370's V6. I really like how 7,000 RPM red line on the tach is right dead center at the top. Super easy to read, very clear gauges. Cruising here on the highway, 75 miles an hour, about 2,700 RPM. A little bit of tire noise, but that's about it. In my initial review on this car out in Vegas, I thought this would be a pretty comfortable GT car. And this still, I think, kind of slots in between sports car and GT car. It's maybe not as athletic as some of the competition, or as comfortable, but it kind of does a little bit of both reasonably well. Sounds a little like a GTR. decent. It's a little bit busy on our rough Michigan roads, but anywhere else in the country, this should be a pretty comfortable car. The only major shortcoming here dynamically is probably this tire choice. There just isn't a lot of grip from these Bridgestones. But that also means you get to have a little bit of sideways fun at street legal speeds too. Like the 370Z, this isn't a car that loves being pushed to the limit. It's a bit more of a 7/8 car. It's super satisfying, very addictive rolling into boost in this. Ton of turbo lag, decent amount of torque, even at about 3,000 RPM. Let's feel out these brakes. No one's behind us. Brakes are decent. We'll probably see some improvements with the Nismo edition that comes out, though that should probably also see a pretty significant price hike. Pedals are nicely placed for heel toe. You can disable the rev match down there, and you'll see a little S appear or disappear next to your shift indicator. We'll turn it off for a few shifts, see how it feels. You do have to hold it for a couple seconds. It's a pretty easy car to drive smoothly. You can get smooth starts out of this, no problem. The clutch is a bit heavier. It does have a strong bite point, but the tuning here seems pretty nice. Throttle sensitivity is nicely calibrated. It is properly quick. Not Toyota super quick, but it feels about close. There's a little bit of steering feel, but not much. It's a slower ratio too. So front end turn in isn't as direct as some other cars. So if we turn traction control back on, we do get adaptive cruise control in this Z. We can adjust our following distance. It does disable when you try to shift gears, so you can't downshift and have cruise control engaged in this like you can in some cars. But even so, nice to have that system available here. Let's go and do a quick sound system test. We have a Bose premium audio system here. Buttons on the steering wheel, big honking volume knob to the left. Supposing this sounds all right. Could use a little bit more depth, a little bit more bass here. All right, so with active rev match off, yeah, pretty easy to do the rev matching yourself. Heel toe, pretty easy. This steering wheel kind of gets in the way of your knee sometimes, so you have to kind of figure out your driving position accordingly. So how can we sum up some thoughts on the new Z? Well, like I said at the beginning of the video, this is an improvement in pretty much every way over the 370Z. The big question is whether it's worth the price. $52,000, that's pricing this new Z into some pretty competitive territory. You have the Camaro SS1LE, which is just one of the best sports car bargains for the money. You've got the Supra, which is pretty closely priced here. That's now offered in a manual transmission, and that is the better car overall. I don't know, for me, this is a little bit of an expensive proposition for what it offers. It's still, for better or for worse, an old school driving experience. You get a handbrake, you get a manual transmission. This kind of feels like a car from 10 to 20 years ago, just with a few modern touches and amenities and screens and tech features. The interior is okay. The highlight for me is the way this thing looks in the exterior. It is stunning in person. It gets a lot of attention. People love this car. That square front grille has definitely grown on me quite a bit. But everywhere else, this car is absolutely gorgeous. I'm finding this a much easier car and a more enjoyable car to drive than the 370, which tended to be a little bit rough around the edges and kind of clunky. And this new Z isn't a huge improvement in terms of driving refinement, but it is an improvement. Power kind of falls off a little bit toward redline. But still, it is very, very satisfying to bring this engine out when boost kicks in. It's that torque that you didn't have previously. Maybe peak horsepower, peak output isn't hugely different because of the extra weight from this new Z, but the way that power is delivered is more exciting. Even with its shortcomings, I've got to give Nissan credit here. I really appreciate that they still make the Z and they still sell it and it's still offered as an option. It is truly one of the last old school sports cars still for sale, and it is a fun car to live with and a fun car to drive. I'm just not sure if it's worth $53,000, or almost 53 grand as tested, with a few options. The base Z with a limited slip diff might honestly be the move. For around $40,000, about $10,000 less than this car, that actually might be a pretty fun proposition. If this were priced at like 45 or so, that would be better, but at 52 grand, not including potential markups from dealers, this is just a little bit expensive for the experience and the quality and the feel of this car. So let's make some comparisons to the competition. Of course, you guys all know I own a 2022 Subaru BRZ. Compared to the lower power, lighter weight offerings like the BRZ, the Miata, I wouldn't say this is as fun to drive because it kind of lacks that lightweight, flickable feel. The shifter's a little bit longer of a throw. You kind of have to take your time with this, but it offers a lot of power. And in that way, it's kind of similar to the Supra, where it's a bit slower and maybe less engaging of a driving experience. Your inputs, you can't rush your inputs as much. Compared to the Supra, performance falls a little bit short. Doesn't handle as well, doesn't have as much grip. Power is a bit less, but ultimately you're paying a little bit less money for this, hopefully. I kind of, in some ways, I prefer the manual transmission in the Z to the Supra. There's less rev hang. Kind of slots somewhere in between. What I do appreciate about the Z is that it does have its own unique character and flavor and its own personality, and it's kind of stayed true to that character that it's had over the years in this newest iteration. Time, modern amenities, modern tech hasn't taken that away, and I think that's an important consideration here. This is still truly one of the last old school driving experiences. You can go out to a dealer, buy brand new with a warranty now. Maybe it doesn't hold up with as good value as some of the competitors offer, but it's still a fun car to drive, fun car to live with, a very cool car to look at. And again, I'm very glad that Nissan's still making it. So I think we'll wrap things up there. Those are my thoughts on the Z. Haven't changed too much since my initial drive on this car, but wanted to get back into this, experience it again on our home roads here in Michigan, and bring you guys along for the ride. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.